Now this right here had me excited upon first glance, and I gotta say, after wearing these things for quite a while, I'm not gonna say Nike's back. I'm just gonna say that this is what we all expect from them. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on these bad boys right here. This is the Nike Pegasus Premium. Now before we jump into things, if you did want a performance review from a running aspect, we do have that available right now over at WearTesters.com. There will be a link down below in the description box, so I'll send you right over there, right to the page where you can read all about it. However, this review is going to be strictly based off of a tech breakdown as well as a lifestyle use perspective. So something like this, I personally love. I go on walks every single day, and I've been actually using the previous Pegasus, which is actually not the previous Pegasus, it's just the current Pegasus, which is the Pegasus 41, and I absolutely love those. I think that that's a great balance between a bouncy ride with the Zoom Air unit and something that's also like durable and stable with the carrier, the foam that they're using. And with that being said, they come in a sportswear box, nothing fancy, nothing special. I do kind of wish, just because this is something that is above and beyond, where they put everything kind of like into this, and I'm not talking about tech, I'm talking about just like their minds, the innovation, the design, everything is laid out with like direct purpose. And that's something that I just really feel is missing from Nike. So with that, I wish that the packaging was just a little bit more elevated, just because this is the premium version. So while nobody wears the box truly, I do think that when you buy the box, it should be like, oh yeah, this is the premium package, not just that it comes in the regular package. Is that a small nitpick? Of course, but I mean, these were expensive, so like, what do you expect? Now, like I was saying before, I've been wearing these around ever since I got them, and I love them. Like, I think that these are awesome. Like, when I first saw them, I was instantly intrigued. Obviously, that visible zoom unit is like the thing that's drawing me in. I'm just like, holy crap, we haven't seen one of those in a while. And while they're not always implemented perfectly, they're always a lot of fucking fun. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but about 8 years ago, we actually reviewed the Nike Zoom All-Out Flyknit, which is the first thing that came to mind when I saw these things. And that shoe was interesting. I didn't love the collar. Like, that's the one thing that I don't like. I don't like the sock collar thing, like the knit stuff in the back, which these don't have, so I think that's perfect. But I was super like excited about that zoom unit, because in that time frame we had other max zoom units like that, but in the basketball category. So seeing that in running, I thought was fascinating, and I thought that it was something to just kind of get excited about, being like, yeah, like I could wear something off court and be just as springy and bouncy. Unfortunately, that shoe was a little too unstable, especially right here at the lateral area, and so with that, like even just basic walking down steps was like a dangerous task. Is that the case with these guys? No, these are way better than that. They've actually widened this zoom unit out quite a bit. So this is a stability zoom unit in conjunction with a super bouncy zoom unit, or a snappy zoom unit. So yeah, this is just something that I think is really cool. Again, I feel like whoever designed these things, which I know a couple of the people on the team, really did put everything they've got into this. Again, not tech wise, I'm talking about like everything they've got. This feels like a labor of love. So the outsole right here, obviously somewhat pays tribute, or loosely pays tribute to the original waffle sole. You got all those little waffle style lugs on there, and I think that they work just fine. I will say that it's been pretty rainy here in the Sacramento area lately, and while I haven't had any issues on most surfaces, there are a few where like when I step on it, like you can definitely feel that traction's lacking. Now from a casual perspective, obviously that's not a big deal, but if you're running, that might be a big deal. But again, you can get all of that information on our performance review. They did segment the rubber itself, so it does not go full length, so they reduce weight in that sense. So basically from the midfoot up is one full slab of rubber, minus the little tendril that you'll see right there that's just showing you the Zoom Air. And then in the heel, they've got a decoupled piece, and then it's also decoupled from itself. So we've got 2 panels of rubber right there. That's just for basic stuff, like when you come off of curbs and things like that, or if you happen to heel strike, you've got some traction coverage there. Now the cushioning on these, obviously the Zoom Air is the main draw, or the main focus, but there's more going on than just that. There's actually a triple, what do they call this? Like a triple decker?
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, so like, yeah, it's got 3 different styles of cushioning in here, and they all have a different purpose. So I, again, think that this is like a really smart design. It's what I'm used to Nike being like in the design phase of things. Like when we're talking about basketball, running, all that stuff, everything is usually done purposeful. Like it's done with function in mind, not just like, hey, let's just do this, let's get it out there and let's get on products so that we could sell it. And that's how Nike's been feeling for a little bit, and this is not that. So on the bottom here, we actually have a wedge of foam that's Nike's React X foam, and that's for stability. So this area right here on the bottom, it just feels a little bit firmer. It's still pretty bouncy though. They have used this as the sole cushion in select shoes, and those are a more firmer ride, obviously, but they still have a little bit of bounce. This type of foam kind of feels like it's got a little bit more rubber in it. Like, that's the best description I can give it. It feels like a rubbery foam, so not super soft and squishy like the top layer, which is the Zoom X stuff, and that's the stuff where there's like instant creases. And I don't think that that's like a big deal, because they're shoes, you're gonna wear them, they're gonna be comfortable, right? You don't want them to be stiff as a board, at least I'd hope not. And Zoom X is fucking awesome. Like, I'll just say right off the bat, Zoom X is awesome. And done up like this with all three of these layers is, I don't want to say it's impressive. It's just like, even just walking around, you're gonna be walking a little faster, bro. Because this right here is just bouncy. The way that it kind of like pushes you forward is so weird. I love it. So yeah, you've got stability on the bottom, you've got fluff on the top, and then in the middle is my favorite cushioning of all time, and that is the Zoom Air. And this is done in a new way. Like, this is obviously full length is not new, but this curvature is. So we haven't seen Zoom dip like this before, at least not this type of volume of Zoom. We've seen it a little bit in other, like, I think it was other Pegasus models where they had like a curved Zoom unit, but it was inside. So it was much thinner. It's easier to do that way. This is different. This is a thick ass Zoom unit. Like, this thing right here is it's a big boy. And what I love about something like this, not just the way that it feels, but the way that it looks, you can actually see what Zoom Air is all about. It's an airbag, and then it's got tensile fibers in there. Fun fact, Zoom Air was originally dubbed Tensile Air. It's just that that didn't like stick, obviously. But the first shoes that actually had this type of cushioning in it, they labeled it as Tensile Air units and not Zoom Air units. It did not last long. It was like about a year or maybe a season, something like that. So yeah, it was quick. But either way, the Zoom feels exactly the way that you would expect. It absorbs a ton of your impact, and then it deflects it right back to you. So that's what's really giving you that snappy ride. And like I was saying before, they don't feel unstable or anything like that. You definitely get some squish and a little bit of wobble, but it's not anything crazy. The forefoot right here is just extended like I've not felt before or seen before. Like this almost feels like it's like a hybrid between, you know how I always describe like modern basketball shoes feeling like running shoes?
Yep.
This kind of feels like the opposite, where it's like they've taken some of the stuff that they've learned in basketball and applied it to running. It's pretty cool. And I will say that torsion support is not an issue either. Like, this bag right here is thick. I wasn't able to get like a real good B-roll shot of it, but the seam of the bag actually protrudes out on this lateral end. And so you can see how thick this plastic is. It's really interesting. I love this. I think that if they just ditch this, it's going to be a disservice to whoever like created it or came up with the curved design and all that stuff. They need to keep this going. I really hope that they do. Now, the upper isn't quite as impressive as the rest of it. It's just kind of what you would expect from a modern running shoe. Do I think that's bad? No, because I think that everything that they've done here is exactly what you, again, would expect, and it works. It's comfortable. You've actually got multiple different styles of material. There's kind of like base layer, or the body is like a really interesting textile. It's almost like ripstop, but not. You can just kind of like see the ribs in there. Those are structural support pieces. And then in between, it's super thin mesh. It's crazy. And then they've got this tape around there, which is the hot melt stuff. That's actually fully reflective. So this entire thing right here not only is a reflective piece for, you know, night or early morning runners, but it also is, you know, hiding the seams and creating the transition between this material right here and the knit that they use up top. Also, the laces are reflective, which is awesome. And so is the little tiny Pegasus wings logo, which I love. That thing is so cool. The fly knit that they use along the upper is really light. Like, the way that it feels on your foot is like it's non-existent. And like I was saying before, it's been raining here, and that's one thing where if you choose to wear these in wet weather, your feet will get wet. Like, this is fully open at the toe, and so when I was done wearing them for the day, I took them off. My socks on the toe area were just, they're wet. I knew that my feet were cold, I just didn't realize that they were wet. So maybe drier conditions is best with something like this, but that's really up to you. And also, I don't know if they're maybe going to make a winterized version, you know what I mean? Sometimes they do that where there's like a layer in between, and so they make it more waterproof. Who knows? The midfoot lacing area is really cool too, just because it's something that I love seeing in not just running shoes, but basketball shoes as well, where the eyelets are functional in a way of not just like tightening up your footwear, but they're also like a lockdown piece right here at both sides. So if you were to look inside the shoe, you can see that the eyelets wrap down into this panel right there, and that goes all the way down to the footbed. Again, it's used on both sides, so there's no real instability issues that I've noticed wearing them just regularly. today, and based off of our performance review, it seemed very similar. The tongue might be one of my favorite features. It is a little fluffier than a lot of like more modern tongues that you'll see on performance running footwear, but I really love the way that it feels. It relieves lace pressure. It allows the shoe to look like a shoe, so if you don't want to wear these for performance and you wanted to wear these casually, they still look cool. This is just a perfect design. It's so nice. And then the heel is very similar to a lot of modern running shoes as well, where it scoops away from your Achilles and your heel and things like that. That's going to be the one thing where I personally love the way that this whole shoe fits, but some people might not, especially if you're a narrow footer or maybe a super wide footer. So in terms of fit, I went true to size. My toes are right on that tip, dude. Like they're right there. So if you're wearing these casually and you like that kind of one-to-one sock fit with this knit style of upper, which I do prefer, true to size should work out best for most, at least the just kind of like a regular foot, or if you have a narrow foot. However, if you like a little bit of wiggle room or you have a wide foot, you might want to consider going up half a size. For running, typically you do go up half a size because you want to make room for some toe splaying as well as your foot swelling, as well as not like jamming your feet into the toe and everything like that. So if you go true to size on these for performance, you might regret it. So half a size up will be basically like needed. They are definitely snug, but in a good way for me, but not for a lot of other people. Also, there's one extra eyelet right here at the back for those of you guys that might need it. So if you do go up half a size, you could do a runner's loop back there and hopefully not get any heel slip. Now, with all of that being said, do we have time for a question of the day?
Would you rather be able to fly but only be 3 feet off the ground, or be invisible but still have a 10% opacity left over?
Oh, those are weird parameters.
They put a laugh cry emoji at the end.
So like when you say fly, like does that mean like upright or this way?
Like you mean like your feet are 3 feet off the ground?
Yeah, like are you...
Or your head's 3 feet off the ground?
Are you Superman in it, or are you like, I'm God?
That's funny, because while I was thinking of it, I thought it was, yeah, you're just like floating upright. Like, oh, I don't want to walk.
Like, you know when Superman's evil, he always floats standing
Okay.
upright, and it's supposed to give you like this like power trip type of look, kind of like a Homelander.
I was imagining power trip.
That-
Just, hey, I don't want to walk anymore.
Sorry, I'm hungry.
It's okay.
That would be okay, but weird. Or are you flying like do, you know what I mean? But like, I don't, like you get hit by a car.
I never picked flying as a superpower. Like if you could have any superpower, because it scares me. What if all of a sudden I Spider-Man it and lose my power and I'm...
It's worth the risk.
Plus my stomach gets weird feelings like on swings, so it just
I know.
sounds bad. But I picked flying for this because I could just... Oh, there's a bunch of people in my way. I'm just gonna off-road over here.
But 3 feet is so low. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like 3 feet is like really down there.
I'm
so
just gonna cut across the lake here. If my powers give out,
I'm
I'll
picking.
just float.
I'll just say right now, I am picking flying. But like it's just like an odd way to do it. You know what I mean? Like why are you restricted?
I'm at low battery. That's what.
But like,
I'm in power save
you know what I'm saying?
mode.
Is gravity so like got like a stranglehold on you where you can only go up? Like you know what I'm saying? Like get yourself in one of those like training things like in Dragon Ball where like you're like weighted down, and then that way when you come out. I wouldn't want to be like somewhat translucent. Am I clothed?
I don't know.
Because that's the weirdest part about being invisible is like how does that work? You know what I mean? Like you gotta, I'm not doing that. I'm not Bruce Almightying anything and then walking around, because that's one of the funniest bits that they did in that Fantastic Four with like Jessica Alba and Chris Evans and all of them is when, you know, she first gets her powers, she is floating with clothes that Reed didn't make the suits yet. So like, and the way that he makes them is the threads adapt to your superpower. So like stretch or flame or whatever. So hers would turn translucent with her, but she didn't have that yet. So she just like took it off, and it was a funny bit, but then if your powers get shut off,
Yeah.
you're buck ass naked, and that's not cool.
No.
Yeah, but anyways, going with flying, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, hopefully I'd figure out how to get further than 3 feet off the ground.
Maybe you have to get naked.
No.
Maybe your clothes are holding
No,
you down.
let's not do that, okay? Not happening. But with all that being said, what would you choose between those two options with those very specific parameters? On top of all of that, what do you think about the Pegasus Premium? I think that they're pretty f***ing awesome. I definitely think this is a worthy purchase. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they're hard to get. Other colorways should be a little bit more readily available, but I think that this, I'm not gonna say it's peak Nike, but like this is what you expect from Nike. This right here feels like Nike. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. We will catch you guys in the next one. So until then, y'all have a good one.